Welcome to the Light on Suitability podcast with your host, Elizabeth Comeau, and my co host, Daryl and Sean. We wanted to apologize for the gap in a couple of the programming weeks. The schedule that I've had at work with my parole hearings has been really busy. I had to fill in a couple of weeks for some missing attorneys for hearings, and it just ends up being quite a lot. And then last week, I had to abruptly cancel our podcast because my piglets were loose on my farm and I was here all by myself, and there was a dozen of them everywhere. So I had to, with the help of my dogs, herd them back into the corrals. And by the time I got them back in there and thought I had enough time to get moving with the podcast, by the time I made a cup of tea, I turned around and they were loose again at a different spot. So pigs can be very clever, and especially piglets. So I apologize for that as well. And just my apologies in advance because April is the same for me. Just a lot of back-to-back hearings and other commitments. But once we get back to May, we should be able to get back in the swing of things. And I really hope to have some great guests on coming in the near future. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Daryl and Sean. They're really getting into some of the nitty-gritty of being on parole. Again, the day-to-day stuff, all the little stuff, the big stuff, and everything in between. So we continued our conversation on relapse prevention planning, and it is a very big topic, and I think it's underestimated at even the parole hearings themselves or just by parolees themselves. So as we've said repeatedly, and I think the theme was, there's a difference between being granted parole and being suitable to survive the day-to-day obstacles and stressors of parole life and being free. So if we don't get back on air here in the next couple of weeks, please be patient. I hope to be back online maybe the beginning of May. If not sooner, if I can squeeze a podcast in here and there, I certainly will do it. All right, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful life and enjoy.
Today, I believe we're going to be discussing being granted parole in contrast to being suitable for parole, which is a big difference for a lifetime inmate and for people who have returned to society. Sean, how long have you been out now?
I don't know. I haven't even counted. I'm 4 days behind you. I don't even count no more. I just live day for day because I'm so used to, we counting days in prison. I don't want to count when I get out.
Okay. So let's talk about your day-to-day. You're being found suitable in contrast to just being granted parole. Your day-to-day.
For example, I had 2 jobs. They were both helping out. I ended up leaving one, which was a big decision because, financially, I'm about to get my sister's kids, take care of my sister's kids. So, I had plans, I had goals that, but, from this month to this month, I'll make this certain amount of money. I'll put it in my savings account. So that way, by this time, within these few months, I'll be able to have enough money to, get my house, get the furniture and stuff like that. And so little things kept popping up, like little different things with my car. So I had to sit and make a decision because my other job partner wasn't making right decisions. And so I had to make a big decision to leave him. And so at the time, I didn't have nothing to replace that other job. And so, but it was necessary that I do that. And then it was bothering me because, you know, I facilitate the kids. And so that was a big part of me at that job. But I had to do what was best for me. And so we ended up departing our ways. And so now I'm back up. I went looking for houses. I went looking for different jobs. I came across another job that I think I'm going to take part-time, which it might be full-time. Also, I can do both at the same time because I'm an in-house caretaker, right? Got my license for that. But it was kind of hard at first because I was like, man, I was struggling. And then, you know, I had so much time on my hands. It was just like, I was going out of my mind because, you know, in prison, we got a daily routine all the time. You know, we wake up in the morning, do our prayer, go to work, we'll go to breakfast, go to work, you know, go work out, go to group, go to college, come home, take your shower, right? Read a little bit, and then it's time to go to bed. Every day. This was the same routine. And so being out here, the routine changed. I just got up off my butt, man, and went and started doing what I needed to do instead of just sitting around and stop stressing about, you know, me leaving the job. Now what I'm gonna do? Just like, okay, you know what you gotta do. You know what you gotta do.
What kind of emotions do you feel? Because I know I feel a lot of, and I'll discuss it, but what kind of emotions do you feel like when you have those moments when you say, I know what the problem is, but how do I feel it? I mean, how's the feeling?
The feeling is at times I was feeling inadequate. Like I'm letting myself down, I'm letting everybody else down. And I was just like, man. And so I was sitting in that and I was just like, okay, you feeling like that? Okay, that's okay. But that's not you. You're not inadequate. You're not letting yourself down. You're not letting nobody down. But don't get me wrong. I sat in it for maybe a week, you know, and went and talked to my girl. At least I tried to, and you know, and she was just like, because she always asked me like, "What's going on? What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Ain't nothing wrong with me," but I didn't realize that I was oozing that up out of me. That energy was coming out. And I'm like, "Why do you think something wrong with me?" Well, you know, you in space right now, right? I'm like, well, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, but what are you thinking about, right? And so I really wasn't opening up to her. Once again, I was finding myself back in that mode. I got to figure this out. I realized that, you know, I needed to pray more and I needed to talk about it more. So yeah, I was feeling inadequate, man. Like I was letting people down.
Let's think about when we were going to the parole board, and you know, we made our goals, our day goal, our week goal, our month goal, our 6-month goal, our year goal. And we told those board commissioners with understanding that everything we do for the first time is going to be brand new. Everything that we do the first time it can be damaging. And how damaging, like for instance, getting a job, you know, talking to neighbors, walking a dog, just, I mean, everything that we've done for the first time was like it was like a field trip. And it's kind of strange because everyone is doing everything so redundantly, but everything is so new for us. So
right.
It's a big challenge. But being suitable in society with the insight that we have, you've been able to navigate through this. You've been able to refer back to your relapse prevention plan and your support system and network, so they can help pull you out of those hard times.
And even with that, I still had, even though I had them and I had that relapse prevention plan, I still had to make the decision to pull myself out of the hard times. Because even though you got all that around you and you go look at your stuff, if you don't make the decision to say, you know what, they right, I'm gonna follow their advice, I'm gonna follow what I did, right? And I'm gonna get up out of this pity party and go take care of my business. I can stay in that pity party. And so I still had to make a conscious decision to come up out that pity party.
Absolutely.
And just say, you know what, you got this. Like, this is new to you. This is okay. I know it's not, I know you're not used to this. That's okay. I had to tell myself, that's okay, Sean. It's all right to feel like that. It's not like nobody else felt like that before, right? It's okay. Things is gonna change. Stuff is gonna happen. It's all right. It doesn't make you less than a man. It doesn't make you inadequate, right? It doesn't make you a loser. It doesn't make you a failure. It just shows you that you in real life now. And so now you have to sit back, take your time, evaluate things, and make real grown man decisions. Yeah. But that's one of the things that came up to me this week that I remember the commissioner asking me that. And one of his questions was, so Mr. Conley, when you get out and you see people with all the cars and the houses and the jobs and everything, what are you gonna do? And now I get why he asked that question. And so I know they was concerned about me going back into the criminality, selling drugs, robbing, whatever it was, right? Because at first I was like, okay, that's a stupid question. But no, it's really not a stupid question. Because now I'm sitting in here and it's amazing how his question comes back to me.
His question was, okay, we're ready to find you suitable. Well, we're ready to grant you parole, but you have to tell us what makes you suitable for living in society.
Exactly. And he wanted to know what I would do when I seen all this and I will come into this situation that I'm in. I'm thankful that, and not at one time, not one thought has brought me into, I'm gonna go back into my criminality to make ends meet or whatever. It's like, okay, so what can I do now? Okay, so what job can I do? What can I do on this and this and that? And so now I really understand that question. And so my answer was to him is that, well, they've been out 28 years. So they had 28 years, work, stack some money, buy a house, get nice cars, nice clothes. That's okay. My time, if I keep working and stacking my money and doing what they're doing, right? Eventually, I'll be able to buy me a house, car, clothes, and everything that they have and enjoy life. But I'm enjoying life without even having all that.
I like when we had David on, and he said when he went to a job interview, and he told him that he was in prison previously, but the difference between him and the difference between any other prospective employer is that he knows himself more than anybody else. We're more self-aware. And this is important because you have 28 years of getting to know Sean, while most people have 28 years of just knowing a system, knowing something else. And I want to add to that because going to work every day, which is entirely different. I still think I'm the last one hired, so the first one fired. I still think that. I still think that at any time someone can exploit me because of my past, because I'm on parole, because I was convicted for a murder. There's things that's going through my head every single day. Driving down the street, being possibly pulled over, and the first question is, are you on probation and parole? And if so, that means step out for their safety, put me in mechanical restraints, and put me in the backseat of a car. These are realities that you can't escape, because the moment you stop thinking about them, that's the moment you get relaxed and do something crazy. So, but it's not a fear factor. It's a part of the daily. It's a part of the world. It's a part of what can happen. But I also want people to understand, as well as I'm growing to understand, I have a different thought process every single day right now, until I become normalized. And I want to say this, I dignify the weird statement at the dinner table, around the house. I dignify that because I find myself doing things that's completely contradictory towards everyone in my transitional house. When I go to a place and I watch people eat, we had a spoon because forks are not allowed. So everything I hold, I'm holding it like I'm digging into it like a spoon, in contrast to holding it a fork. And this is big because it's an attention grabber. People see that and like, well, slow down, what's wrong with you? And so I have to slow down, and I'm not at a 5-star restaurant or anything like that. I'm just eating around common people, but there's certain things, and putting my hand by my tray, by the food I'm eating, like I'm protecting it from someone grabbing it or something. I mean, it's a practice that we develop, and it's become a reality. So I mean, that's really small. That's really small, but it's gigantic, because eating is supposed to be an intimate time, intimate moment. You know, and talking. We don't talk when we eat in prison, but in society, people talk while they dine. So I had to, re-equip myself. And in our classes at the transitional house, they talk about that. And when I first heard it, I was like, that's not a good topic. And when we eat, because I order food sometimes, it's just so we can develop those talking skills while we start eating, we don't talk. And he's like, see, this is what I mean. I don't hear no chatter. You go to a restaurant, you hear chatter. Why
All
don't
the
hear chatter
time.
in this room?
All the time.
So this is things that there's small things, but this is all about being suitable for living, so that we can live amongst people and people won't know that there's something wrong, because they're, and I'm not gonna say that there's something wrong, that there was something wrong, because we developed abnormal characteristics and traits.
What close people around me did notice, another one was the security. Like every time I leave out, I'm locking the doors. Or if we go to sleep, or the girls is in their room sleep, I'm going in their room, shutting the windows. You know what I mean? Making sure everything is locked. Security is very big for me, and everybody like, man, calm down. I'm like, no, don't calm down. That's what's wrong with people. People get too relaxed, right? And that's how these crazies come around and be doing what they're doing, because people get too comfortable. On that angle, my family and, and other people, like I might walk in Daryl's house and I'm the last one in. When I walk and shut the door, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to lock it.
And see, I mean, this never happened, but I would probably, someone will say, why did you lock the door? Why did you lock the door? I mean, it's just, and again, like David shared, we go to people's homes, or we go to people's establishments, it's their establishment, it's their home. We take ownership wherever we go. This is how people that have been inside are. We take ownership. So you have to learn to just relax and let things be. And one of the things, like you just made mention about security, because inside you're always watching your back. You're sleeping with one eye open. You trust very little. But in society, I'm learning there's cameras everywhere. And people, if they see something wrong, they're going to call and tell.
Exactly.
So that's helping me to relax, lower my guard down, and just let this go, move with the flow. But and it's not as easy as I'm saying. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Because we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned. But if we want to continue to be suitable for living in society, then we have to adapt to the societal norms. And societal norms today is, you better not walk in my house, because I got a ring that's going to hit you. I got neighbors, I got cameras, and they're telling you, Sean, relax. We got more security than you can ever provide for us. And that's just how society is now. When I went to the transitional house, because you have people going in and out of different work hours and things like that, they didn't used to close the side door, lock the side door. I had an issue with that. But they told me, they said, look, there's cameras right here. Not only is a camera outside facing the door, it's cameras as soon as you walk in, and there's cameras on the street. They said, you okay? Relax. I couldn't wait to be hired at night, because now I ain't got to be there when everybody sleep.
Exactly.
So when I get there, it's daytime. I'm okay. Okay. But there's things that's really small, to most people, because it's just a societal norm, and we have to adapt to that. We have to adapt the same way we adapt in traffic to people cutting in front of us. My blinker's on and they won't move, but when I see your blinker on, I give you time, and then I get flicked off.
Well, that's the people cut. That's the people cutting the line in the canteen line. That's how I look at that. Am I gonna spaz out?
No. And so, and like, I'm gonna give you an example. And I think I've been doing really well in my transitional house. Although, and I have to say this, because my work schedule, I missed some of the classes. That's routine. Because I go to work at night, so I try to sleep. I've been missing some classes. I'm approaching my 6-month mark, but they told me I'm getting a 90-day extension because I'm back in my classes. I haven't completed the necessary hours. So I'm like, wow, 6 months. when I was planning on leaving the transition house. Now I'm gonna have to stay an additional 90 days. And it's not a problem for me because I have to be more responsible with my time, or like my curfew. You know, we have a 6 o'clock curfew. And David was talking about the 5 o'clock curfew we had that they realized was good. We got a 6 o'clock curfew. They want us to log in so we know that we're there. And then we were supposed to reflect before class. And every now and then I was late. And that I proved to my parole officer that I wasn't accountable for time the way I was accountable for time in prison. This is big. Because if you want to be released, you have to show us that you're accountable and responsible for your daily affairs.
Yeah.
So I humbly accept that. I accept it.
Me too.
And I'm doing makeup classes. Yes, and I'm doing makeup classes on the weekends, you know, when I can. As a matter of fact, as soon as the podcast's over, I'm heading down, you know, to LA to go do some makeup classes. But this is big because if you want to be free in society, you have to be accountable, and you have to stop doing everything that people want you to do for them, so you can focus on what needs to be done for you. And this is big because we're people-pleasing people. Coming out of prison, we want everyone to accept us, embrace us, so we want to please everybody. But it's not about pleasing everyone. It's about getting my life in line with where it needs to be so I can live the way everyone else has been living.
10 minutes late here, 2 minutes late here. My house guy was like, hey, Sean, hey, man, you know, I don't want to have to report you or turn you in, but I mean, you got to start being in here on time, right? And I was just like, all right, man. And so I was realizing that, why am I not getting here on time? Like, I got to manage my time better than what I'm doing. And so that's interesting that you said that. And in transitional home, man, I couldn't sleep in there. I used to talk to Elizabeth all the time about it. I come home, everybody's sleeping in the house, and the back door, sliding door is open with the screen. Oh my God, no, that's not happening. Or at the mansion in Modesto, the door is unlocked, you know, and anybody at any time can walk in there, and I was just like, and then the other sliding door was locked. And then the windows are open, the bathroom window, the kitchen window. And I'm just like, oh no, I can't do this. Like literally, I'm up all night because I'm trying to hear stuff, and then you hear stuff because the house is big, so you're gonna hear all types of stuff. It was driving me crazy. It was driving me crazy. So I just had to relax. So what I did was, I just got up, right? When I knew that everybody was in the house, I would get up and just go and close the windows and lock the door, and then go jump in the bed and go to sleep and get my sleep. Because I knew it wasn't gonna happen. Because there was times I went out and slept in my car with the doors locked in the garage.
Now, see, I didn't know this, and I'm looking at you right now, and yeah, look at me when I'm talking, please. Had I known, had I been looking down, had I known that you were going through that, we would have talked you out of that. And I have to say this, because we're not going to imprison ourselves. Going back in that car, locking those doors, it's just like being in that cell, waiting for that bar to shut. We're not in prison no more.
Yes.
Okay. And no, listen, our crime, you know, and no one's looking for us or anything like that, but our crime is so far from the current reality that we're probably the safest people in the world because we don't have any enemies out here. We don't have any issues with anybody.
Yeah.
We're safe.
Yeah.
And this is something that people need to, I'm grasping, because I don't have any issues with anyone in society. I can almost go anywhere, but I have to be cautious of the other mindsets.
Right.
You know, because like David said, just because I change doesn't mean that other people change. I'm not going to disregard the mindset of the community that I'm in, but at the same time, I'm not going to put an extra burden on myself by being inflated with possibilities of something may happen to me, because that's not how life is. Us being suitable for society, for parole, meaning that we're going to live to the conditions of parole. First and foremost, I'm going to do what the people tell me. I don't care what people say. My family, my friends, everybody want me to do things their way, be here, do this. You don't dictate my time. You don't dictate none of my program, none of that. Because they don't know what I've been through. They don't know what you've been through. Second of all, we're free, bro. And being free literally means free, but it means free to make decisions on our own. Free,
yes, sir.
to say yes or no. Free to be impulsive or not to be impulsive. I mean, I use the word free so much that people, when I say, well, I'm free, they don't know what that means. And free, being suitable, listen, you can't define how I'm supposed to live my life because I haven't read the book you read. Okay? Because this is another problem, and Elizabeth may be able to help too. People believe that because they have a concept in their mind that we're supposed to conform to their concepts. I don't know what's in your mind. You know, like my job, I agreed to be there. I agreed to perform a particular task and duty. They don't expect me to do anything beyond that unless they ask first. And that's how I want everything to be in life. Ask, can we agree on this? You know, I had to tell this to my mother and to my sisters. Can we agree before you all have these unrealistic expectations? Because I'm like a child learning how to live life and I'm not where you're at.
All over again. I'm learning how to walk.
People don't understand that. And Elizabeth, please help our listeners understand this. Like I tell people, like some of the guys I know, and they raise their children. Their children are in their 20s and 30s. I say, listen, everything you taught your children all these years, I don't know any of that. And they make mistakes every day. So if I don't have that training that you gave your children, don't expect me to do what your children are expected to do. Help me understand that. We have to be courageous enough to tell people, listen, I don't understand. Because what you're doing is normal. What I'm doing is like, wow, this is another burden. This is another task.
Yeah, unpack that for me. You telling me something, but unpack that for me. You know?
And we have to be that way, because if we don't, then we're going to continue to accept burden after burden after burden by trying to live up to everyone else's expectations. I can't do that. It's too stressful for me. I'm going to work. I'm going to call and ask, do you have any open spots? Because I need to come work. Because I can think things.
Yeah, I think in terms of Daryl's, people are very codependent. It doesn't matter if you've been to prison or not. They're very codependent. So they're dependent on their addictions to their expectations, their experiences, their set way of doing things. And a codependency has those triggers of abandonment issues in and of themselves, rejection issues. You didn't go along with what I wanted. So you actually have learned about codependency and not being codependent, I need to stand on my own 2 feet. And I need to say at great risk to yourself, right? To say no to someone that they're going to respond in their codependent addiction about that. And they have codependencies about control, okay, and their entitlement issues about telling you how to live your life, or we really need you to be at this family barbecue today, or whatever the stuff is, right? And to be able to say, no, because what you're doing is, I need you to understand that logically what you're doing is you're setting me up to fail by doing all this emotional stuff. Then they do the guilt tripping and all of that. That's all codependency. But the first person, you're free to do whatever you want to, make your decisions, as long as your parole agent says it's okay. So she says okay to work, which means you can go outside the curfew a bit. We just have to make some adjustments. And I still want you to do the programming. And that's those 3 things are a huge commitment of time. And to have a guilt trip saying, well, you just need to tell the parole agent that, you need to do this or that or whatever.
They don't want to hear that.
It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm going to do this parole. It's going to be to where I'm successful. And if the parole agent says I'm jumping, I'm asking how high, and then I'm doing it. Like, I just have to do that. And if it doesn't work with my parole agent, it's not going to work for me. And that's where I would really, just logically give them explanations. It's not because I don't want to spend time with you. It's not because I don't want to do your program or do this or do that necessarily, but I do want to make my own decisions. I want to learn, just like a little kid. Little kid just has to be left to learn, right? You have to left to learn and to fall down and to make a mistake and to do different things. So that's what you're doing. And I think that's the key there, is just continuing to stand up for yourself, as you did in prison when you left the gang, and it was really hard to stop worrying about what other people thought. I'm going to leave the gang. And I bet you left the gang, and then you had all the snickers and the comments and the snide comments and the you're a loser, and you had to deal with that for a long time with your mind going, oh my God. And then eventually it goes away, right? So
Correct.
I just
And-
think,
and-
and you can't control them. You can't control that they want, that they're expressing codependency on you. And it's like, I wish you well. I'll see you when I can see you. But right now, I'm trying to get through this 6 months mandatory transitional housing period, which means curfews and programs and reporting and getting along with different roommates and coming and going. And that 6 months is tricky, right? And
Yes.
it's already been so tricky that now I've added a 3-month extra because I'm not leaving until the parole agent says, I've done
I can
these
leave.
programs.
Exactly.
And so it's amazing that you said that, Elizabeth and Daryl, because my issue has been with a few family members and just one of my close support team members is that, they've been out here, they've been doing their thing, and so they give you the advice, right? And so I received the advice, but then when you don't accept or do what they tell you on the advice, they feel some type of way. And so I had to tell a few family members, and a good friend of mine was like, hey, I hear you, right? I received the advice, but that's not good for me. Just because that was good for you, right? That's not good for me. Just like everything that me and Daryl gives out, right? It might not be good for everybody. And so this is why we learned to have different tools in our toolbox. Because if Daryl got anger problems, and when he gets mad, he just goes and work out and he's good. I might go work out and still be angry after I worked out.
True.
It doesn't work for me. And so we need different things. I might be able to breathe when I get mad. Daryl be like, I can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? And so just to have different tools in the toolbox. And then so I'm just trying to let my support team know and my family know, like, I hear your advice on which way I should go, but I don't believe that that's the way I should go, because I don't see myself going in that direction or doing it like that, because I know my triggers, right? I know what triggers me. I know what bothers me. And so that might be good for you. Like one of my friends was like, okay, well, just sit at home, relax, do some writing, get your stuff together, And I'm like, bro, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I know me. I'm going to stay focused, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not sitting there. Now, it was okay for him to be able to sit and be able to do that. And I'm trying to let him know that's fine. That was good for you, but that's not good for me. You know your triggers. I know my triggers.
I want to share this before we finish. And this is really big. And I keep telling myself, hey, before we finish, let's talk about a character defect or a causative factor. And I want to talk about two, Elizabeth, real quickly so we can wrap it up. And I just want for understanding. Two of my most prominent character defects when I was young was I was insecure and I was immature. Okay. And I have a thing in my mind where I tell people, grow up. I don't say it verbally because I don't want any conflicts with anybody, but I listen to people and they sound like I did when I was 17 years old. But I was insecure because I lacked confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I was immature, because I was naive and I was ignorant at 17 years old and many, many years in prison. However, to address those insecurities, and Sean, we went through this together. To address our insecurities, we learned to accept our imperfections and to love who we were as a person. And Elizabeth, I think if a person embraces their imperfection and learn to love themselves for who they are, a lot of the codependency issues will dissipate. Another thing, like immaturity, Sean, we address this by learning from our mistakes, and learning to think in a more mature, responsible fashion. Because people with codependency issues, they want someone else to fix everything for them. Well, I'm not here to fix it for you when I'm trying to fix it for me. At the age that I'm at, I'm confident and I'm pleased with myself right now. I'm very pleased with myself. And when it comes to my immaturity, I became responsible for what I do and what I say. The I've grown up, so I don't need a person trying to put their dilemmas on me, or I don't need a person trying to expect me to fix their life or fix their love or make them feel validated, because I'm trying to validate myself right now. It's about me right now. It's not about my family and my friends feeling good. It's about me. This is my time. They had 33 years to get their stuff together. Let me get myself together, and then we'll reconvene. Then we can talk. And Elizabeth, please share a little bit before we go, because I just needed to put that on the board.
But let's wrap it up. I think it was a very good conversation. Ended up being really great. So you guys take care of yourselves out there this week, and be kind to yourself, be gentle with others.
I like that. I
Kind
like
to
that.
ourselves and gentle to others.
I haven't heard that in a while. Somebody said that.
Even if we have to pull back a little bit in order to regain our footing, because I have to regain a lot of my footing so I can be released out of the transitional house, which means I have to go hard on my programming, my curfews, and living up to the realistic expectations of my parole officer. Because right now, that's the most important person in my life right now, my parole officer.
Most definitely.
100%, 100%, because she's got all the
She got all the power with us.
all the power. So
She does.
and
She does.
and she's there to protect society, and so she's just got to do it the way she's got to do it.
She does everything she can to help us transition out into the world smoothly.
Right. Smooth. We'll end on smooth. How about that?
Smooth is our word. We're going to be signing out. Until next week, everyone, please continue to listen.
And we thank you for listening. And we hope you learned something and got something today from us.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Okay, you too.